Ah, my friends! What brings you here on this fine evening? You seek a story, huh? Is it a story of adventure or of a hero? Why, of course there's a difference. A story about an adventure is, well, about an adventure. It's about what happens to the people, not about the people that I meet. When I tell a story about a hero, I tell about the person behind the blade. Shall I tell you a story about a hero? Excellent! Well, one day as I was traveling the multiverse, I come upon this farm. It seemed to be in a secluded area and only seemed to grow potatoes. I was intrigued, 'cause even across the multiverse, when you come upon a farm, it usually has more than just one crop. So, I walk up to the door and give it a few quick knocks. And I hear a gruff voice tell me that I... Sorry, I'm getting choked up. The gruff voice told me that he was coming to the door and to hold my horses. And so I waited patiently. And a big man opened the door. He had big tusks. One of them, well, I say tusks, but one of them was broken off. He had pink skin, scars on his face, showing that he had been through many of battles. And I asked him, "My dear friend, what is your story? I am a simple wanderer of the multiverse, one without a home." Well, my friend, you haven't found a universe that's really worth making a home in. Come, sit. I'll share with you my story. And so I come inside and sit down. He offers me snacks and a drink. And so I take the offer. And after he gets me those snacks and that drink, he tells me his story. He was once a poor, innocent pig man. Well, pig boy. Who grew up with two loving parents. He moved away when he got old enough, around 18 in this universe. And he decided that if he wanted to make money, he was going to become a farmer. And so he decided what was a quick and, well, not really quick, but an easy crop to harvest. So he chose potatoes. And so that's exactly what he did. He got some land that was unclaimed and some potato seeds and started growing potatoes. He even came into a friendly rivalry with another potato farmer, a sort of humanoid squid person. It lasted for about 3 months, he believes. But in the end, he ended up winning, and the squid person agreed to move away and find a new place to farm, and that was the end of that. Although, funny enough, the people that lived in a town nearby called it the Great Potato War. But he then got sad, saying that that was really the last time that he had had such fun. A few new people moved and started building houses outside the town. And eventually, some created their own town, Manburg. And the pig thought it the most peculiar name, and he kept mostly out of the politics of Manburg. But one day, a young boy came to his door, said that there were dictators taking over the town, and that he seeked to take back his town. So the man helped him gather an army, gather weapons. In the end, they won. But the young boy just became a dictator himself. And the pigman couldn't stand for it. He gathered as many explosives as he could, so that way, instead of having to deal with any more tyrants, he would just make sure that the town was free and clear by setting off a tornado siren. This got everyone out of town before he blew the place sky high. People came after him for years after that. People angry that he blew up all their precious valuables, and others who seeked the bounty that was on his head. But in the end, none of it really mattered, because no one was able to beat this pigman. But in his old age, he hadn't fought much. He had had such a filling life. But in the end, he knew that there was a small battalion approaching, and he sought to go down one last time with a fighting spirit. This army was big, and so big that nobody had ever beaten it before, and there were still people trying to find out what the weakness of this army was, what the vaccine, the cure for it was. They said that this army was like a cancerous growth upon the land, and that all who tried to fight it would fall to it eventually. Some did escape. Those people the army would still chase after, but some people would manage to die. Not at the hands of the army, but of old age after living long lives. But this man, this pigman, he knew that he wasn't going to make it. However, at the door there was a knock. The man opened the door to see hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of people standing at his very farm, willing to fight with him to the very end. The man smiled, went into a room, and beckoned for me to follow. He opened a case, and then another case. After placing them on the bed, of course, and inside was an axe made of metal I had never seen. Said that it was from the very depths of Helheim itself. It seemed to be unbreakable. And the sword was made of the same metal. The man laughed to himself and said that he had called the axe of peace. So that way he could say he always beat his enemies with peace. The man went to the closet and pulled out an old cape with white, fluffy things around its borders. It was almost like feathers magically put into a ball and attached to the cape. It's the best way I could put it. He would take the cape and wear it into that battle. He would take a crown and he would explain to me that he had once been a great leader, almost a king. A great king that lost his kingdom. He said that it was funny. Despite being a king that had lost his kingdom, he still had an army behind him. So they decided to march. They didn't sit down and wait for the opposing army to approach. At the head was the blade and the crown. And they met that army. It was a bloody, brutal battle, and yes, the king, who had lost his kingdom, had led his soldiers to victory, and I fought by his side. But unfortunately, I had lost him in the scuffle. While yes, we defeated the opposing army, the king was lost as well. I took up his farm and his crop of potatoes, and it was funny. Despite not having a place to call my own anymore, I found a place. A place where a king could fall, but as long as he was in the good graces of his people, he would always have an army. There was a vow that day. A vow to never forget the name of the king who fought by the side of his own soldiers, who fought to defeat this army. And while our king has fallen, and the opposing army, has ran away, the army always stays there. The opposing army of cancer, the deadly disease that doesn't seem to have a cure. But we have a pillar of goodness in this community. A pillar that can represent what a community can do when it comes together and doesn't fight to oppose each other, but to fight against the real opponent. Technoblade, I never knew him, but I watched him for a good while. He was an icon. A glorious warrior. Someone that I wish I could have met. My king, it is an honor to have fought this enemy with you. And in the end, you left a mark on this community. A mark that will never be forgotten. Thank you, my king. And no matter where in the multiverse, we'll meet again. I don't know where, I don't know when, but it's gonna be a happy day. Because Technoblade never dies.